Welcome to the Badass Dad podcast, where we are a band of brothers committed to forging stronger fathers. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode. This is being brought to you by the generous donations of the people who have made contributions at our website, which is BadAssDads.org, BadAssDads.org. You can also find some promotional shirts and other ways to support the podcast as well. But just want to thank you guys so much for your support. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Badass Dad podcast. KDH here on the microphone, and next to me today in the IronYetiStudios, Stephen DeShriver. Stephen, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. It's great to be here.
Man, it is so good to have you, man. And I knew you kind of tried to, I won't say blow me off, but you tried to a little bit discount, the value that you would bring in our flow on the mic today. And I'm not letting you off the hook, mainly because of this. If for no other reason, I intentionally did not wear my Duke hat today.
I appreciate that. For all the Michigan State fans out there, go green.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, man,
it was a great Elite Eight last year, though, by the way.
Yes.
To get to the Final Four.
Okay. Yes.
It was a great game.
Yes. I do recall. But I guess we don't really talk about this year so much.
No basketball, no football. We're not gonna go there.
All right. You got a coach?
We do.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mel Tucker, University of Colorado. Thank you guys.
That's right.
For all my Boulder friends, I apologize.
Yes.
Michigan State somehow pulled a rabbit out of their hat at the last minute.
I think it's going to be a great hire.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a great hire.
We're excited.
Well, hey, you know what? I have really been poor on this, and so I'm not even sure how to totally do this, but I'm at my now 9-year-old's Bentley's basketball practice last night, and I was listening to a couple of past episodes and some things, and trying to work on my skills and kind of hear where we're doing things and not doing things right, whatever. And I just happened to scroll down to the ratings and reviews, which I've just done a horrible job of asking people, hey, write a review, leave us rate us, maybe we'll move on the listing. But anyway, I scrolled down and I found one from January 26th, and I'm not even sure. So does this show who actually wrote it? I mean, I don't know.
No, it doesn't.
No. Okay. Well, whoever it was on January, and it just says K-TH. So anyway, it just says, hey, thank y'all so much for the podcast. My amazing hubby, so I guess this is the wife writing it, listens and really enjoyed it and has me listening. Real guys talking about real life and their stories on how to walk a loving life. Fave podcast in the past was Those Bitches.
Oh, really?
That was the fave.
Stacey got some love.
That's right. Changed my marriage. Y'all rock. So I love that. And I had another one from the day before. I guess this is actually from Adam, a Big Sexy Racing, one of my fellow Texans down there. He said, hey, as he actually goes to the Band of Brothers, so he's talking about the Texas Band of Brothers, which, hey, if you're interested, you should go to thebootcampdetails.com. They're all over the country, so we're affiliated with them, but not directly. I do some stuff with them. But, hey, he tuned in to listen to the Chris Royce podcast as a guest, and he got hooked ever since. He said, actually, he and his wife listen together from time to time. And she just keeps nodding her head in agreement, especially the best part, best advice. Once again, Those Bitches podcast. So get a lot of love there. So you need to go back and listen to that one for sure. Now he's going to go back. He said he's going back and he's listening to some of the episodes that he missed before. And man, I tell you what, man, I thank you guys so much, man. If you're checking us out on YouTube, you can go to our YouTube channel right now. We're still under Iron Yeti.
No.
Oh,
Badass Dads now has a YouTube channel.
Man,
Badass Dads.
I love it. So it's just Badass Dads?
Yep.
There it is. Oh, well, check out the YouTube Badass Dads. And so you'll get to see, I brought visual. So, Stephen being a teacher, I thought it'd be good to have some props and do a little teaching today as well. So we're gonna have some fun there. But thank you guys so much once again for supporting us and encouraging us along the way. And man, I've got a ton of fun things that are going on and conversations I'm getting to have with various guys as well. But one of the things that keeps coming up is, man, there's so many things going on in life. And I've got kids, I got marriage, I got, business, I've got, my spiritual life, I've got my health, I've got, all these different areas, how do we get it all done? And, Stephen, I know you have been a well-read young man. And so you've studied quite a bit, but, Stephen Covey back in the day wrote, what was it? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he tells a ton of great stories and gives a ton of great examples. And I'm pretty sure this is where it came from, but he talked about, having the priorities in your life and being able to get those in first and then fitting in some other things around it. And so I brought I tried to recreate Stephen Covey and his story. And so he talks about having, a jar. So I brought a mason jar, one of my favorite things to drink out of, especially if you're drinking sweet tea, like if you're from Texas or something. But that, and then I stole some of my boys' ping pong balls. And so just, getting some of the big priorities, family, fitness, your finances, your faith, having fun and friends and your business, all those different priorities and getting them in there. And it looks like the jar is completely full. And, I want to ask you just at the beginning here, what happens when we don't prioritize an area in our life? Okay. Like early on, in most of us in our careers or something like that, our career is so incredibly important. We go to college, we're studying, we're doing all this kind of stuff. We're starting a business, and that takes such high priority. What if we take out the relationship ball? Talk to us. What happens if we have some priorities out of whack?
Well, you're not well-rounded. The example that I see all the time is the wheel. And you do, different spokes on the wheel or different priorities in your life. So It's friends, faith, family, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And we only have so much time. It only feels like we have so much effort. And when we don't prioritize something, it dwindles and it falls away. So if I'm, as a personal example, I was very focused on my career, moving forward, learning more, doing more, being the best, person I could possibly be.
Yeah.
At the expense of, I didn't see Stacy for 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw her. We were like roommates at that point, and it was just one of those where you get to one point one day, and our relationship wasn't bad, but we were literally just roommates. We saw each other every now and then on the weekends. We even made a focus, like we have date night Thursdays and all that stuff, but it does come a point where it's not as fulfilling as it could be. So you start to lose out, and the same is true if you're only focused on your family. Your friends may suffer a little bit. So I would say it takes deliberate focus in each of those areas to make sure that nothing's being missed.
Well, and if KT were here, he would definitely be talking about being intentional. Mm-hmm. He would use one of his
vulnerable,
exactly. But having those priorities, and I think it's so incredibly important, because this really is part of the science of success, to be successful. I mean, if we were talking about business, it could be, product development, studying your market, sales and marketing, follow up, follow through, delivery, all of those different areas. You could do the same thing in your business. I think you could do the same thing in your faith, whether it, is prayer, time, reading inspirational books, quiet time, solitude, fasting. There's a lot of different, you could do it in your fitness, where you're talking about, whether it's strength training, mobility, your nutrition, all those different areas as well. But those are the big rocks. Those are the big things that fit in there, but there's so much more of life. Mm-hmm. And, it's kind of the spice of life, if you will. And so as Stephen Covey did it, he put the big rocks in first, and then hopefully I'm not going to make a big mess here, but he said, now we got to figure out, it looks like the jar is full, but there's so much more room. And so I have the little Epsom salt that I'm bringing in and pouring in, and you can see that, look, that is so good. Look at that. It all fit.
It's like you planned it out. For those of you guys listening at home, Kevin, so it was a mason jar full of ping pong balls.
Yes.
And it looked full.
Yes.
And then you took a large mason jar of salt and was able to fill it in as well.
And I did not rehearsed this beforehand, so I wasn't even sure how big of a mess I was going to make. But now all of a sudden, it literally, you shake it a little bit and it just fills all of the gaps. And so what would be some areas that, I think we can understand what the big priorities are in life, but what's some of the salt areas in this scenario, or the sand, that we would want to make sure fit into our jar as well?
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's the minutia. It's the little things. It's the groceries.
Okay.
Doing the laundry.
Yep.
It's calling your mom. Having those conversations. It's having a beer with friends and relaxing. We said faith before, but actually taking that time to pray and reflect.
Yeah.
Think about life, planning out ahead of time. Like, we'll fill in all those little things. You know what?
A lot of times it's those things that are easy to do, but because they're easy to do, they're easy not to do as well. And so, if we don't have some priority for them, if we don't put some space in there, with the big rocks, it's easy. We put it in our schedule. It's like pretty simple for you. Of course, I text you hopefully a few hours before, but I was like, hey, are you available today? Whatever. But these are the certain days we finish school early, or I'm going to be late, or I've got some other people coming in. So some of those big rocks are in your calendar when you're going to be able to or not be able to do something. If you're going on a vacation, obviously huge rock in there. Schedule's blocked off. But it's so easy to skip by some things, and for some people, this is their health.
Absolutely.
The big priority may not be their health until they have a heart attack, or someone passes away, or some, doctor uses the C word or something like that. Now, all of a sudden, okay, holy crap, I'm going to get my crap together now. But understanding that if we will begin to put those things into our jar, then we're going to have a more fulfilled life.
And it allows you to tackle some of the bigger things, right?
Yeah.
It's those daily routines of your health, right? It's eating correctly.
Yes.
It's going for walks.
Yes.
It's taking those tiny, tiny little things that are easy, like you said, to miss out on. Calling your mom.
Yep.
Telling your wife you love her.
Yep.
It's all those little tiny things that we could definitely just move past.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't necessarily know if we didn't do it that day. There's no accountability up front for those. The accountability only comes at the end.
Well, I'm going to give you a business one. I'm so thankful. I was so fortunate how I grew up really in my teaching career, and then transitioning into business. I had a guy that I taught his kids, Mike Tuttle, back in Dallas, and he did an amazing job with me when I was teaching, because I taught his kids and I got a chance to coach his oldest son. And one of the things that he did phenomenally well was he would write notes to us as a teacher, like as a teacher and a coach. He would write me a handwritten note, okay? And this was long before email and everything else. You couldn't text message, okay? But he would do that. And that was one of the things that I remember made such an impression on me. When I got started in business, I literally started handwriting notes to clients. And it's such a trivial deal. And you go, you know what? I don't know that there was any one time that I wrote a note to someone and then it directly turned into this big client or this big, new associate or anything like that. But I can't tell you how many times, because I would do appointments with people, and I would do appointments in people's homes. And I can't tell you how many times I'd gone to their house, and on the refrigerator would be the note, and it would literally say, man, I really enjoyed the time we had together. Looking forward to getting back, next Tuesday at 6:00 or whatever. And I can't tell you how many times they would have that note on their refrigerator. It was such a minor thing. This is funny now that you kind of got me off on this. Okay. But one of the things, so Gretchen and I, we were married 14 years, no kids. And so very rarely do we do things apart. We were in business together. We met working together. We started a business together. We did everything. It was 24/7. But there would be a few times a year, I don't know, maybe 4 times a year, where I would go travel someplace and she wouldn't go. But every time I would get ready to go, somewhere in my luggage, in my DOP kit, somewhere, there would be a handwritten note from her. And it was nothing. As silly as it is, I have a backpack that I carry all my jiu-jitsu stuff with me. In the top of my backpack, I still to this day, and I don't even know when she wrote it, there's a handwritten note in there. And periodically I'll pull it out, and it just kind of reminds me, It's that little special touch. And I think that's some of the salt that goes in our life that is so easy to do. But once again, it's so easy to do, but that makes it so easy not to do.
Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, there's power, right? Especially right now, there's such power in the written word, physically writing it out. And I'm gonna, like, the first thing is very similar to what you just mentioned, and I don't want to get all sappy and I don't want to take us too far off track. But my wife, who is outstanding, I think I've said that enough. She's unbelievable. She was going on, she's smarter than me. I think I pointed that out. She was on a
wait.
She was on a NOAA research vessel.
Wait, we're walking down here and she goes, I'm going to go study astrophysics or whatever it was.
Because
for fun.
Because that's what she does. Yeah. Well, so she teaches it. She's brushing up. That's how smart she is. So she was on a NOAA research vessel. So the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, they have research vessels in Hawaii for like 30 days, like on a boat in Hawaii doing research and things like that. She wrote me a note every day, all right, to open, all right, while she was away, because she thinks out ahead. She's smarter than I am. But I'll tell you what, like, I was on a motorcycle trip with a friend of mine out in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, and I brought the notes with me. And on whatever it was, July 17th, I would look forward to it every single day. And it really didn't say much, but there's something very special and powerful about that. And one more story before we move on. I don't want to give out names. I currently work for somebody, and she's outstanding, and she knows who she is.
Yeah.
But she takes the time. She oversees 230 employees. She takes the time to write the handwritten notes. And I'm telling you right now, you walk into 90% of those people's offices, and they have notes from her, and they may not be prominently displayed, but they know where they are, and they might reference them because they're that powerful, just to kind of let us know where we stand. And it feels good.
It does.
You know?
It does.
I'll tell you what, the retention rate in that building is better than in other places.
That is just great leadership. That it really is. It is just great leadership. And I believe being part of being a badass dad is definitely being a great leader. And, I sent out a text message. I know I sent one to you. I don't know, maybe a dozen or so guys last night, just asking about, their top 5, favorite books or books that they love, whatever. And, my connection to that is sometimes the salt is also reading. Leaders are readers. And it was so much fun, getting the response. And I'm kind of doing a little research right now because I want to see if there was some commonalities from some guys that listen to the podcast, and actually some girls that listen to the podcast, in what they've been reading, and maybe some direction we need to go or some gaps that we need to help to fill. But it was so much fun that there was like only a few people that text me back, go, I don't read. But like most everyone, and then I know someone were kind of jerking my chain a little bit, but that's one of those areas, reading, that is in this example, it may not be one of the major priorities, but man, it's one of those things that can fill so many gaps, and once again, easy to do, but easy not to do. Mm-hmm. And so I want to start with this illustration. I think it's one that maybe a lot of people have heard. I don't know. Maybe I'm beginning to realize what's old is new to especially some of these,
very much so.
Especially some of the young guys get to spend some time with. But I wanted to have a little twist on this because now, as I am getting older, I shared earlier, Gretchen and I were married 14 years, no kids, and so our priorities, the ping pong balls that were in our jar initially, really took up everything. I mean, building a business, our relationship, everything. And it was 24/7 for us. And then when we adopted our 2 boys, things changed quickly. All of a sudden, there was a large, I should have brought a large ball that went in here. And what it did in that time, and we had consciously made the decision that Gretchen would no longer have the same role in our business that she had before, that the boys would be the priority. And so I went through this tough transition that was so hard for me because, for a decade and a half, it was 24/7. And some people go, man, how could you do that with your spouse? I was like, how could I not? It was my best friend. We had success. We traveled together. We built our business. We cried together. We yelled at each other. I mean, it was, but it was always us. I mean, so much so that it was literally Kevin and Gretchen Harper, Kevin and Gretchen, Kevin and Gretchen. It was, there was never one without the other. And then all of a sudden, and really in a moment, it went from Kevin and Gretchen to Kevin and then Gretchen does this. And what was once a big rock priority, in my estimation, became sand. Mm-hmm. And it was a tough transition for me. And it was really hard. And, and I started wondering, where do I fit? Do I fit in your jar anymore? So many doubts, questions, fears, and obviously work through that. Lots of conversations there. And then just recently had it kind of again. So really this last year, because Gretchen, for the first time, now we've been married, it's 2020. Okay, almost 23 years, okay? All right, so almost 23 years. So the first time in our relationship that she is working part-time with the adoption exchange, huge heart for her. She loves the mission, the passion, helping families post-adoption, everything else, loving it, but outside the home. So now all of a sudden, me, so much more than my boys, feel like, wait, I just got adjusted to this priority. Now there's this new priority that's in here, and beginning to understand that the priorities have adjusted. I don't want to say changed, but maybe, they have changed, but there's an evolution. And I'm sitting back, and when I have moments of not being incredibly selfish, which I am so incredibly selfish and spoiled, which I know, like people tell me all the time, Kevin, you're the most spoiled person. Okay, yes, I can admit it. I am spoiled. But those moments when I have some clarity and I realize and I can see how much she is growing and the impact that she is having on families, it is incredibly powerful. And so I say all that to go, there's the science of success, getting the priorities straight, get the major things in there. And when you're starting off and you're doing that, you've got to do that. But at some point, if it's always just driven by the priorities, it really becomes a grind, I think. And you need to have the back half, because it's kind of like, when is enough enough? And I'm at the phase now where I'm really searching for, and I think experiencing as well, the art of fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. When your priorities do shift and your priorities change, but when you had your boys, that becomes fulfilling for you. Mm-hmm. That becomes, it's not that other things aren't as important, but the volume got turned down.
Yes.
And they're not as urgent as they were previously. And because your boys need you. And I'm so glad Gretchen took that time to sit and to raise the boys and to stay home. I'll tell you what, so I came from very Midwest working class household, and my mom, when she had me and then my two sisters, she was done.
Yeah.
She was at like a big accounting firm or a advertising firm. She's like, no, I'm going to raise kids. Yeah. And then she went back to work. But I'll tell you what, it shaped me into the person I am today. So I'm so glad she did that. But that's that spice of life, right? That's when you have the most influence over your children is going to be when they're young. So maybe, your priorities shift a little bit, but it's a good thing.
It really is. And I think, being able to step back and just totally take a clinical perspective of it, totally agree. Mm-hmm. But in the midst of it,
it's scary.
It's
got to be scary.
And I'm like over here waving and saying, hey, put the camera on me. What about me over here? And so just learning, to adjust and to pivot. And, so I've had a couple guys ask me oh my gosh, I've been married 2 years. How am I going to make it 20 more years? And I'm like, now I'm beginning to go, the relationship is going to evolve. It is going to change. And it's your ability to adjust with that. In jiu-jitsu, there's an idea that you should build your game around your frame. Okay. So meaning this, I have a different frame than you. Okay.
Yeah, yes. You're about a foot and a half taller than me too.
All right. And so you're without us even getting on the mats, you are quicker than I am. You are in a compact, in a smaller. So there are some things that I could reach up and grab you in areas where you wouldn't be able to reach me. However, you being more compact. So your ability to build your game around your frame, we would have a different game. Okay.
For everybody listening, I'm a tall 5'8". I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm a tall 5'8".
But
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But our ability to do that and to understand that the priorities, although we can all say, yeah, our family is a priority, there's going to be a season when it doesn't all mean the same. So in the priorities, it's not equality. It's not an equal amount of time in every single thing. There was a period of time for Gretchen, especially when the boys were younger, that became such a large priority that some other things took a little bit of a back step. Okay, from a quantity of time, not from an intensity, not from a belief or love or anything else, but from a quantity of time. So we actually had a phrase that started way back before we got the boys, and it dealt more with business, which she would have her roles and I'd have my roles. But the phrase was this: it says, if the baby needs changing, it doesn't matter who changes the baby, go get it done. So if I needed to go pick up a check, I go get a check. If I needed to do paperwork, I'll go do the paperwork, whatever it takes at that moment. But coming back to our illustration, I think because it's so easy not to do some things and to start feeling less than feeling, we could either feel guilty if what was once a big priority and all of a sudden is less, to understand that in our Epsom salt scenario here, that the spice of life that you said, it really is the art of fulfillment, and that at some point you start to realize maybe enough is enough, with business, maybe with some other things, because there's always going to be someone more fit, smarter, faster, better in jiu-jitsu, makes more money, better looking, has more hair, whatever. Right?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
But for us going, hey, we're going to be fulfilled because we're able to provide that spice of life. So, man, I'm really excited about what's going on in the IronYetiStudios as well.
I'm excited to have you guys here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to host it.
Yeah. And man,
this is the spice.
This is the spice. Mm-hmm. And, hey, guys, once again, hopefully you got something. Our goal really is we are committed to building a band of brothers who are going to forge stronger fathers. And so we want to grow this movement, this band of brothers. So my hope is that this will be shareable, that people go, hey, I want to share this with other people, that people would, write us a review or something like that. It is fun just to hear how different people have, found the podcast, and I am getting better. I've done better so far year to date.
You read reviews.
I have read reviews.
There you go.
I've actually posted some things on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I just realized, Gretchen pointed out to me that I thought we were posting on Instagram and Facebook, but they weren't. So we're working on some of those details there as well. And, getting some equipment upgrades as well here, hopefully being a part of that. So
absolutely. A couple new cameras, some lighting so it doesn't look as dark.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
You guys look really good.
So anything else you want to add there, Stephen?
No, I think we're good. You got to, but I will say this: the spice of life is you have to find what it means to you, and it's individualized, and you can't read that in a book, and you really gotta, you gotta find out for yourself.
Yeah. Well, if you're at a place where you're kind of struggling and you go, hey, where do I start? Then I think you do. I think you start with your priorities, and you can go back to the 7 F's. You can start talking about your faith, family, fitness, finance, your firm, so your business, your own personal finances, and having fun and friends, and start making them a priority, and then start finding out the other spices of life and being able to figure out, how do I get more of the salt in there? Where do those things fit in? And I covered a couple of episodes ago about some high valued activities, some HVAs, but when you're able to take something that is fun and fitness and friends, whether it's taking a training class with Kyle and Teresa, or jiu-jitsu, or a CrossFit class or something like that, you can combine a couple of different things, and then you put it in your schedule. When I really started working on my physical transformation a couple years ago, I had this hit list. It was 3 things that I would do every single morning. So this kind of became one of my big rocks. And it was this. Number 1, I needed to beat the enemy. Okay. And so the enemy for me was my bed. Okay. Because my bed is incredibly comfortable. Like I don't know if this is actually a spiritual gift or not, but I can sleep. I really am a gifted sleeper. My entire family is really gifted at sleeping. As I've talked to people, I realize how much of a gift that is. But I could really sleep. So my first thing was I needed to beat the enemy. So for me, I just made a commitment. I was going to get up before the sun.
Okay.
And so I wanted to do something totally crazy. I want to be, I would love to be Jocko and, be posting at, 4:38 every single morning, but I wasn't there. Okay. But if I could do that, so beat the enemy. And then number 2 was I was going to read something. Okay. So it was just something, whatever it was. For me, I kind of went on a journey where it's so simple for me, easy to track, easy to do, takes a couple minutes. But I literally started with reading Proverbs. So there's 31 Proverbs. So I said, whatever day it is. So it's, February 18th, I'm going to read 18. So I just read 18, and I'd read different books. But I just started doing that. And then the third thing I did was move. It was somehow just moving my body, some kind of physical activity. And it was great because, we did some jujitsu classes, but I was able to get a lot of that stuff done long before the workday actually started. And then it made everything. And there was a sense of accomplishment, of just fulfillment.
Well, you feel like you've gotten up and you've beaten the day and you've beaten that habit. And now it probably is just a habit for you.
Yes.
You probably just get up and you do it. And I imagine that your life is so much more fulfilling. You have more energy throughout the day to accomplish what you want to accomplish. You've made different friends you probably may not have had. And one of the things, I work with a group of young men, we always talk about sharpening the axe.
Yeah.
Right? And you're the axe. It's better to sharpen the axe before you cut down the tree. And part of that sharpening the axe is reading. It's expanding your thoughts, and in your mind. So that's fantastic.
Well, one of the things I want to do coming up on a couple of future episodes, and I'm going to have you also on this, is talk about, some of the books and, some of the highlights. Because I've had more and more guys ask me, hey, what are some books to read? And gosh, I've got a decent library and some background on stuff. So I'll be sharing some of those as well, and some ideas and giving a little breakdown, but hopefully just whetting the appetite just a little bit, salting the oats, lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Salt the oats. Okay. So you salt the oats, they want to drink. So hopefully we'll be salting the oats for people to go out there and get after it. So anyway, man, so excited. I'm excited about being on YouTube. I think it's crazy that people are going to watch just two dudes or whatever sit here and talk, but people like it. But I did do a little illustration, a little visual today.
I'm so proud of you. It's fantastic.
Oh man!
If I'm going to be on there, I got to start working on my cardio.
There you go. Well, hey guys, please check out the podcast. Subscribe, give us a review, hit us up on Instagram, BadAssDads. The YouTube is BadAssDads.
It is BadAssDads on YouTube.
I don't even know this stuff. You're so good, dude. All right, check out IronYetiStudios. Also, man, if you have some other recording stuff you want to be able to do, really, Steven does a phenomenal job. Hey, have a badass day, be a badass dad, and we are out. Hey guys, I want to thank you guys again just for listening to this episode of Badass Dads. Hey, if you found this episode helpful, if it's beneficial, if it's shareable, man, we'd love for you to pass it on to someone. Previous episodes you can check out on our podcast page, on iTunes, on Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, check out our website, BadAssDads.org. That's BadAssDads.org. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram pages. So please, love the support. Check all that out. Let's get this movement going. And we are committed to forging stronger fathers. Be a part of the movement. We're out.